the Twitter files showing the suppression of voices, all the censorship, and I just imagine how much information we were withheld from. How many very intelligent people, even if they're people I don't necessarily agree with, but they gave like a different voice to it, a different narrative. We shouldn't be afraid to hear a different voice, If they're so wrong, then we should be able to use that information and challenge what we believe, and then we can discard the bad information. But if we only get one viewpoint or one side, or however you want to say it, how do we actually grow? And so, for example, I am wholly pro-life, and I don't think it would be right for me to ban pro-choice discussion or advocating for abortions, if I have that power, because if I lose that power, then they can come after me. And so that's mostly why I'm free speech, is because there's a lot of power in speech, and there's even more power in controlling speech. And so to level the playing field, we all get to talk, right? And just because Jack Dorsey leaves and Elon eventually comes in, doesn't mean that, we should now favor a different side and start banning them in revenge.
I keep hearing Bob Woodson speaking in my ear, when white people were at their worst, black people are at their best, right? And it was such a powerful line. I've never forgotten it, but this speaks to what you were talking about Black Wall Street, during Jim Crow, right? And some of these realities. And maybe just, I just think that this is something not a lot of people know about, or not enough people know about. I certainly didn't prior to learning this from Bob, but, it also speaks to some of this potential that you're talking about that's unrealized, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's no guarantees when it comes to anything, but this is why school choice is incredibly important to me as well. I think if you're in that much of a bad situation educationally for your children, you should have the opportunity to go elsewhere. We have choice in just about everything else in life. But for many people, they don't have the choice to go to a different school. And the people who do have the choice to go to a different school, they have the economic means to do it. And why should your education be wholly dependent on your economics? The whole point of the public school system was to give a proper education no matter what economic status you're in. That is a failure of the educational system. How can you have progress if kids aren't being educated properly? And, we live in very specific areas. 60% of Black Americans live in 10 states. And you can name those states based on the cities. And we can go through the list of those cities and how well are those cities actually doing. They like to blame where they're not getting enough money. But that's actually not true for most of them. Detroit, for example, gets more money per pupil than any other city within the state. It's not a financial problem as far as receiving money. It's a corruption issue. And you can't blame this on race, because the entire city is, people in power and every level, they're all Black. So what does it actually mean then? They're corrupt. There's just so much corruption that's happening. And the children who are able to get some sort of education, they're getting educated through school choice. They're getting educated through busing into other areas, because that's how bad things are.
Well, and potentially ideological as well. We're going to use this specific method of education. I've been hearing a lot about this as well.
Yeah, that's definitely part of it for sure. There's the teachers union that there's that aspect to it, but there's just so much bureaucracy at play, and all it does is hurt the kids in the end. And they leave school, can't read, even though they have a high school diploma. They're not prepared to go to college. And I might be butchering this, but I remember hearing a report talking about historically Black colleges, how they have to catch kids up in order to be at a certain level when they come into college. And that's because they're being undereducated in the areas that they're growing up in. So, like I'm saying, kids all the time graduate high school, they can't read. It happens all the time in this country. And much of the problems will only be exacerbated by the government. And what I'm trying to tell people is that they can change things themselves. Or if anything, if they need government, they need to look at local government more and less at the federal level. And I don't think it's just black Americans or black community that this is happening to. I think it's happening all over the country, where they turn on CNN for solutions rather than going to their local boards, right? Rather than going to their school board to, figure out how we can improve things at our school, or city council meetings. They're turning on the television to find out who to vote for Senate. That guy's not going to fix your problem locally. And locally is how you address a lot of the issues that are going on. I think there is power when it comes to resolving issues. There's power in acknowledging your issues too. If I'm the one who caused the problem, that means I'm the one who can fix it, right? And so why not grab a hold of that? And everything for me starts at home, the family planning aspect. And I didn't follow these things when I was younger. I had my son out of wedlock. And so I'm in a constant struggle to catch up, to always be on top of my son. And I'll never be on top of my son because he doesn't live with me, And no matter how much I care, it's going to always be a difficult situation to be in. And what I'm advocating for people is to not put yourself in that situation. There are lots of good men out there who care about their children, but maybe they're approaching family in a different way. And same thing with women. They're approaching family in a different way. They're not planning properly. They're going off of their feelings and oops, we have a kid now. But I really wish people would look at the person they're about to have sex with as the person who could potentially be the mother or the father of the children. And that would change how they view, their relationships moving forward. The problem is that we don't. I think it becomes all about us and all about the parent, how we feel. And we can change those things. We can change our mindset. We can change our approach. And we can do all that without the government. The home is the first government we should be worried about. The problem is that for a lot of people, it's highly dysfunctional, and then they look elsewhere for the solution.